Kenya's High Court has blocked President Uhuru Kenyatta's attempts to change the constitution. Parliament has already passed the proposed amendments known as the Building Bridges Initiative, or BBI. The High Court declared the bill to amend the country's constitution as irregular, illegal and unconstitutional. It also ruled that President Uhuru Kenyatta violated the constitution by initiating a process which ought to be driven by ordinary citizens. The proposed changes under the BBI reintroduced the office of the Prime Minister, the creation of 70 new constituencies and an affirmative action clause that could have created at least 300 new unelected MPs. Kenya's initiated the changes with the backing of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga after the two made peace in January 2018 following a divisive presidential election the previous year in which Kenyatta beat Odinga. Well, for more on this Kenyan constitutional challenge, I'm now joined via Zoom by Maggie Momanyi, who's a lecturer at the Department of International Relations at Wits University. Thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the programme.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for having me.
The changes that he was trying to introduce don't sound that controversial or that harmful. Is it more about the process than the substance? Okay,
so that is actually what many people who are opposed to the BBI have been raising. It's been about the process. And it looked like the president and the prime minister were trying to rush through. And of course, it's about timelines. We're having an election next year. So if they were to pass the constitutional amendment like they wanted, then they have to have the referendum by August like they wanted. I mean, so it was rushed. And that actually, if you had or listened to the ruling, it was all about, yes, the content was also in a way, of course, argued that some of those provisions were not issues that were raised, were not valid, but it was more of the process. And you can tell, of course, they were trying to beat the deadline so that they can, the elections can go on in 2022.
So why would the introduction of a prime minister, reintroduction of a prime minister, be useful to Kenya, or is this about balancing political favors?
You see, thank you for that question. Yeah, you see, what BBI did, you know, Kenya's elections have always had issues. And one of the things that BBI was trying to say, we are trying to solve this culture of where immediately after elections in Kenya, we have the violence. And because people are fighting over positions. So perhaps creating the prime minister's position was going to give hope to the two strong camps that are normally there in Kenya, that even if you don't get the presidency, there's the premier position. And it also created a hope, especially in the Raila's camp, who has lost, I mean, like 3 times, where, you know, his supporters have always had faith in him that one day he'll be at the helm of the presidency, but it has not worked. And it was like, it's an opportunity for him to also tender in his presidency for the fifth time, I mean, in the coming elections. Yeah, so it was to balance the perceptions, to balance the emotions around elections, and perhaps to pull away, you know, the presidency in Kenya is very emotive, and it takes, the winner takes it all. Like when you get the president, and because we have the culture of voting along tribal lines, it has always been a certain tribe, the majority tribe or the biggest tribes are the ones that getting these big positions. So it was going to be a balance, yeah. It's more of like, yeah, creating hope. Yeah.
All right. So one of the things also was that it could have seen as many as 300 unelected MPs. That definitely sounds like sorting out favors for people who'd never have won at the ballot.
Yeah. Exactly. It was all the argument was around inclusivity, that we want to create inclusivity so that people who don't get elected, because elections in Kenya are very competitive, like I've told you, and very expensive. Even just getting a local MCA, member of the county assembly post, you will be talking about 21 to $30 million, Kenya shillings being used at the campaign level. So unless you are rich, it's not one of those careers you want to go into. And that's why when they get there, they loot to pay themselves back. So it was a way to say people don't have to go through the competitive process. And we have already precedents showing that we have these 47 women reps that were created with the last constitution, that is only women who will go for that seat. And we have voted them twice. And in the last 1 year or so, or 2 years, we've had debates around what are they doing? Because it's not just about having people there. Representation does not only mean that they have power, doesn't mean that representation doesn't always translate to influence. I think that is the point that the BBA proponents and initiators were missing. Because having a bloated executive or parliament, it's already bloated as it is. And you know the Kenyan parliament is one of the most highly paid in the world. So having 300 more goes directly to the public funds and the pocket of the common mwananchi, and it means high taxes. So it is one of those things that the opposers were like, no, you should think twice. And especially right now we have a pandemic. Are we going to talk about economic recovery or creating positions?
So the court said that the president had violated the constitution. Is there a consequence for that, or does he just get a slap on the wrist?
Of course, legally, there are those conversations about impeachment, but I doubt that one can really, at this point, he has just a few months out of the office. Also, impeachment is a whole process. So we can take a whole year trying to impeach the president and his term comes to an end. But what I can say politically, it has dented his legacy. You know, I'm sure this is one of those things he wanted. And he wanted to leave behind as his legacy. And at one point, he's been quoted saying that this is going to be a constitutional moment, such that he was expecting a very great outcome that people will always say when Uhuru was in office, he did this, that this was the last major thing he did. And of course, there was an amendment and the trickle-down effects thereafter would have been attributed to him. But it seems that didn't go that way.
So, I mean, it had gone through Parliament. Who challenged it to get it to court?
Of course, there are two lawyers. I'm just forgetting that. Yeah. Actually, there were 7 petitions, by the way, against it. Yeah, it's been challenged because it went not just to, this is the first time, because there was a time where people went to court and even said at the county assembly levels that the versions, the BBI versions that were presented to different counties were different, and some of them were passed, but it was not the same version. That I think it was 3 months or 2 months ago, and now we have this one, the major one, because now having Parliament pass it and Senate, you know, now that also questions the credibility of our leaders, not just the president or Raila Odinga, and it tells us a lot. What kind of leaders do we have? Because some of those leaders we have there are lawyers, actually well-known lawyers, and we have always respected them. We have seen them take stands in the previous issues that Kenya has had, like in the previous elections and the election petition in 2017, and they gave very good discussions around it. But right now, it looked like they were playing sycophants, if I may use that word. And it looked like it is something that was being forced down not just the citizens' throats, but even some of those people that have been quoted in the media, like walking dictionaries in Kenya, like the senators and the lawyers who are in the House as working constitutions, as in they have the mastery of the constitution, were very silent on this old BBI issue. Yeah.
So, I mean, changing the constitution is a very serious thing. And here in South Africa, you need at least a 2/3 majority. I mean, it's pretty serious. So one wonders, was he testing the waters and perhaps thinking about another term in office?
Okay, so what I gather, my opinion is, I think, of course, after the 2017 elections and the bad blood that was there between the president and the prime minister, and then they come and have the handshake. So in my opinion, perhaps this is just handshake gone too far. Perhaps they would have just ended at that point and created positions for this term, but they were too daring to even think of now going further than amending constitutions and even talking about IEBC that is at the center of everything. The president knows that the IEBC has been understaffed for the last 3 years. Not 3 months. We are talking about 3 years. It has only 4 or is it 3 commissioners, and there's supposed to be 8. And for them to handle such a process like it was mentioned in the ruling, there should be at least 5. And all these 3 years, they were aware that there is the shortage, but there is nothing they could do about it. So I think they were just trying, maybe, trying to rush through the process, but this one, no. Right. We saw it coming. We saw it coming. I don't think anyone is surprised.
Okay, we've run out of time, but last question, I'm going to ask you to speculate. Who is going to be the next president of Kenya? And is prime ministership, was that the last chance saloon for Raila Odinga? Is he going to disappear after this?
Well, yeah, there were the speculations that he would actually go for the presidency or something like that. But if you ask my own opinion, I would have wished that Raila retires out of politics. He has done a lot for Kenya. He's fought for us many occasions that he would retire honorably. Those are my opinions. In terms of elections, already the camps are forming. The camps are already forming. We have the Tanga movement led by the deputy president. So right now we have the deputy president. We still have this other person from the Uhuru's camp that we are yet to know. Of course, under the BBI, there was the speculation that maybe Uhuru is likely to support Raila, but that is not likely the way I know Kenyan politics. So we still don't have someone from Uhuru's camp that has been forwarded. So for me to make a proper speculation at this point, but probably the deputy president might surprise many.
All right, we will be watching with great interest. Thank you so much indeed for your insights tonight, Maggie. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Kwaheri, asante sana. Okay, that's Maggie Momanyi, who's speaking to us she's a lecturer at the Department of International Relations at Wits University.